The Matthew Books. Matthew, Tell Me About Heaven. A first-hand description of the afterlife by Suzanne Ward. Published by Matthew Books. Part 2. Nirvana. Emotions. Suzanne. Good morning, Matthew. Good morning yourself, Mother. It's wonderful to feel you smiling so much today. You can feel me smiling? Not exactly. I just simplified my thought. I feel the same happiness that's been causing you to smile so much this morning. Remember, we feel the same emotions of people with whom we're bonded. Fortunately, there's a protective layer that shields us from feeling all the emotions collectively affecting people there. Believe me, this would never be considered heaven without that shield. We feel that we're in the most loving and satisfying of all placements at this stage of our soul evolution. Still, we do feel a great deal that isn't attributed to a blissful, peaceful, harmonious heaven. Those wonderful sensations are pervasive here, but we also experience emotions that could be called reflective, serious, sobering, and even downright negative. On Earth, it seems as if the horrors in a country half a world away are relatively unfelt by those who don't personally suffer them. More in a mental state than an emotional state do you consider those distant people who live in anguish and fear and extreme deprivation. Our work with souls transitioning from those circumstances is carried on in the midst of their intense feelings. The negativity of their sorrow, fright, physical pain, and anger arrives here en masse, continuously. The entire realm is affected, not only those of us whose direct service so closely touches those emotions. Most of us are not far from physical experiencing, you know. We can relate to the ordeals these newly arrived souls have so recently endured, and we can empathize with their feelings. It's a separate issue from our ongoing karmic lessons and spiritual growth. It is actually feeling the very same emotions as the people do who arrive in great pain in body, mind, and spirit. Furthermore, since the essence of our being allows for intensified sensations, the emotions we feel are heightened beyond those felt on the earth plane. The density of your bodies dulls positive emotions and traps negative emotions. When negative emotions are trapped for a while, disease occurs. Even though you have myriad diagnoses, trapped energy is the root cause of all your illnesses. The same spectrum of diagnoses is given as reasons for physical death, and that is not correct either. The cessation of energy contraction and expansion on a rhythmic basis is the reason the physical body dies. I digressed, Mother, but I thought you would be interested in knowing that. Now then, the other side of our intensified sensations is that positive feelings are pure joy to experience. This gives balance to the painful sensations we share with the arrivals. It could not be otherwise in this realm because balance is necessary for soul growth. Love here is purer than on earth, and it is without any of your volatile sensations of falling in love or out of it. Our enjoyment of music or any scene or activity also is more intense and purer than yours. Suzanne, do you feel any emotions that we don't? Matthew, what an interesting question, Mother. No, I don't think so. The major difference is in the purity of our emotions. We feel only our primary emotion about any situation. Suzanne, what do you mean by primary emotion? Matthew, I'll give you an example. You feel genuinely happy for your dearest friend who, after a long, desperate time of unemployment and anxiety, just succeeded in getting a good job at the large company where you're working. But your happiness for her may not be free of undercurrent emotions. Perhaps you doubt that she is capable of performing her new responsibilities well enough to keep the job and worry how losing it would affect her. Perhaps you feel envy because she got exactly the type of job she wanted and you settled for one that doesn't really satisfy you. Maybe you're relieved that she got the job because she'd left the running for another position that you also had applied for. Or maybe you're jealous because she got the very job you wanted to switch to but weren't chosen to fill. Or if you hadn't known about that job vacancy, you may feel regret that you didn't have the opportunity to apply. Maybe you feel resentment or anger that your qualifications were known to exactly fit the job description, but the vacancy was advertised instead of being offered to you. So you see the wide variety of possible companion feelings that may be fleeting or may last along with your primary one of happiness for your dearest friend. In short, rarely do you separate your feelings about another person or any situation from your perception of how you yourself are or may be affected. That doesn't happen here. Suzanne, that is thought-provoking, Matthew. How do souls there overcome those negative companion feelings? And what about bullies, snobs, troublemaking gossipers, braggarts, and other rather obnoxious but not evil types? Matthew, undesirable characteristics do accompany people to this realm, but those traits don't remain long. Here we acknowledge our character and personality shortcomings, whereas all too often people on earth recognize them only in others. When the cumulative soul examines its life print in the Akashic records, reviewing the immediate past life and evaluating it in conjunction with all prior lifetimes is a great lesson in itself. When a review shows that undesirable traits have been pointed out repeatedly without improvement in lifetime after lifetime, the soul can make intense efforts while here, often with counseling, to overcome that pattern. Suzanne, but in the meantime, who would want to have them around? That doesn't seem to fit into the rest of heaven. Matthew, well, Mother, they wouldn't be around anyone who doesn't want them. An energy is attached to every human characteristic. Like all else in existence, personality traits come within the universal law of like attracts like. Each trait is channeled into sections of like aspects, so souls with undesirable traits simply aren't around unlike souls who don't attract that energy. However, if a soul's lesson selection during this spirit life includes tolerance or patience, they may require proximity with characteristics they formerly couldn't tolerate. Suzanne, you know, Matthew, there seems to be constant emphasis there on learning and growing, and even with all the recreation you have, life sounds basically so focused and serious. Don't you people ever laugh? Matthew, you can bet we do. The principle of like attracts like applies in this laughing matter as in all other energy attachments. So here, just as there, laughter is infectious, and its influence has a wonderful ripple effect. Like all other traits that make transition with people, the ability to laugh heartily or to create good humor also arrives continuously. Of course, it doesn't emerge quickly in souls with damaged physical bodies or traumatized psyches, but with recuperation, that aspect of their personalities starts coming forth. After a certain point of recovery, good humor and amusing situations around them aid in their progress. When they start laughing, we know it's a leap forward in their restoration to sound health. We're glad that your medical profession has discovered this ancient truth. Often we see a perverse sense of humor on Earth, so a laughable situation here may be different from your own, but not in all ways, of course. You've always appreciated dry humor and quick wit, Mother. They're here in abundance because our subjects for humor are refined. We have marvelous theatrical comedy productions and also performances by masterful comedians. Your greatest comic entertainers eventually perform here too, you know. The ultimate in taking their show on the road, you might say. Mother, surely you couldn't think this would be heaven without good humor and laughter.